Straw, 2025. Is Tyler Perry like you've never seen him before, raw, dark, and psychologically intense? Released on Netflix on June 6, 2025, this gripping psychological crime drama stars Taraji P. Henson in what may be one of her most powerful roles yet. Supported by a strong cast including Sherri Shepherd, Teyana Taylor, and Sinbad, the movie explores trauma, motherhood, vengeance, and the fine line between Taraji P. Henson plays Denise Walker, a former child psychologist whose life spirals into chaos after the sudden death of her teenage son, Marcus, in a suspicious police shooting. Already burdened by unresolved trauma from her childhood and struggling with a strained relationship with her own mother, played by Sherri Shepherd, Denise begins to unravel emotionally and mentally. When the justice system fails her, labeling the death an accident with no one held accountable, Denise's grief turns into obsession. She begins to stalk those involved in her son's case, convinced there's more to the story. As she dives deeper into her investigation, she discovers a web of corruption, secrets, and betrayal, even among people she once trusted. With the line between justice and revenge becoming more and more blurred, Denise begins to take matters into her own hands. But as bodies start piling up, the question becomes, is she seeking justice, or is she losing her mind? Teyana Taylor plays Rochelle, a street-smart single mom who befriends Denise and tries to pull her back from the edge, while Sinbad makes a haunting return to film as Detective Harris, a retired cop who might know more about Marcus's death than he's letting on. Why injustice? It was just after midnight when Denise Walker heard the knock on the door. 3 sharp hits. No doorbell. Just a rhythm that didn't feel right. She was sitting alone on the couch, staring at the baby photo of Marcus hanging above the fireplace. The TV was on, but the volume was low, flickering scenes from a documentary she wasn't watching. She got up slowly, her heart already pounding. When she opened the door, she saw 2 police officers, one young, one older. Both had their hats off. The older one spoke first. "Ma'am, are you the mother of Marcus Elijah Walker?" Her knees buckled. She didn't even need to hear the rest. The church was full, but it felt empty to her. People whispered and stared. The choir sang softly. Denise sat still on the front pew in a black dress that didn't fit her anymore. Grief had eaten half her body in just 3 days. Sherri Shepherd, who played Denise's estranged mother Lorraine, sat beside her but didn't say a word. The two hadn't spoken properly in over a year. Not after the incident. Denise kept staring at the casket. Marcus had just turned 17. They said he reached for something in his hoodie. They said he matched a description. They said a lot of things. But all Denise saw was the last smile he gave her that morning gone. And no one was going to pay for it. "You have to let this go, Denise." It was the first time Lorraine had spoken since the funeral. She said it while packing up the leftover food people brought. Denise didn't even look up. Her hands were shaking as she stared at a folder in her lap, her own notes, copied from the police report she managed to get through a friend in the DA's office. "Let it go," Denise said, voice dry. "They murdered my son." "God will fight for you," Lorraine said, standing in the kitchen doorway. "God didn't stop the bullets, did he?" That silence said everything. Denise drove across town that night. She parked 2 streets away from Officer Colin Bensley's house. He was the cop who pulled the trigger. 32. With 2 kids. A wife. A clean record, except for a complaint 5 years ago that disappeared. She sat in her car, watching. Taking notes. Every light flicked on in the house, every time the door opened, every car that passed. She wasn't stalking, not in her mind. She was investigating. Watching what justice refused to see. At 11:43 p.m., Bensley took out the trash. He looked around. Their eyes met. Just for a second. And then he went back inside. The next day, Denise walked into a corner diner near the courthouse. She needed coffee, sleep, and maybe a reason not to do what her mind had started planning. That's when she met Rochelle, played by Teyana Taylor. Rochelle was a waitress with a fast mouth and sharp eyes. She could smell pain on someone like cologne. "You okay, sis?" she asked. Denise didn't answer. Just stared at her cup. Rochelle sat down at the table even though she wasn't invited. "You got that look?" The kind my mama had after my brother got shot. Ain't no fixing that look, but sometimes it helps to talk about it. Denise blinked. And for the first time in a week, she spoke the truth out loud. They killed my son. And they think I'm gonna move on. Rochelle's face went still. Then don't. Denise started seeing patterns. Same routes. Same routines. Officer Bensley left for work at exactly 6:32 every morning. He kissed his wife on the porch and drove off in a Navy pickup. His wife watered the plants. The kids played in the yard before school. Denise watched it all, notebook in hand. The same way she used to take notes when her patients spoke during therapy sessions. Only this time, there were no children to help. No healing to offer. She followed Bensley 3 days in a row. Once, he pulled over a black teenager for jaywalking. Hand on his holster the whole time. Denise's hands clenched around the steering wheel. "One wrong move," she whispered. "One wrong move and this boy's mama becomes me." She drove off before she did something. Rochelle knew people. She always had. "Look," she said one afternoon, sliding into Denise's booth with a thumb drive. "I got a cousin who's a dispatcher. Don't ask me how, but that body cam footage they said didn't exist? It exists." Denise stared at her. "You serious?" "Dead. But you didn't get it from me." Denise took the drive and left the diner without a word. Later that night, she sat in the dark and watched it. Watched the shaky footage of her son walking down a street. Hoodie up. Headphones in. Officer Bensley shouting commands Marcus couldn't hear. Marcus turned. Pop, pop, pop. No weapon. Just a phone in his hand. Denise screamed and threw the laptop. The screen cracked, but the video kept playing. His body twitched on the pavement, and no one rushed to help. Lorraine found the box under Denise's bed. It was filled with newspaper clippings, maps, printouts of social media accounts, and surveillance photos. Circles in red ink. Timelines. License plates. Police names. "What is all this?" Lorraine demanded. Denise stood in the doorway, silent. "You planning something, child?" Denise walked forward and snatched the folder from her mother's hand. "You already buried one child. Don't make me bury you too," Lorraine said coldly. "I didn't start this," Denise whispered. "But I will finish it." Detective Harris, played by Sinbad, wasn't supposed to be involved. He had retired years ago after his own son died by suicide following PTSD. But when he got wind of a grieving mother sniffing around dirty cases, he knew where it was headed. He found Denise outside Bensley Station, sitting in her car again. "Denise Walker," he said, tapping on her window. She jumped. "You don't know me," he said. "But I know what you're thinking." "You think you know, but you don't," she said, not rolling the window down. He held up a photo, his son. "That's what revenge looks like when it backfires." She stared at the picture, then back at him. "I'm not looking for revenge." "Then what are you looking for?" Denise didn't answer it. On the 18th night, Officer Bensley didn't come home. His wife reported him missing. The next morning, his truck was found, abandoned, doors wide open, in a part of town no cop dares enter. No signs of struggle. Just his badge on the seat. Detectives called it strange. His partner called it impossible. Denise sat in her living room, sipping tea, the news playing low in the background. Her eyes were hollow. Rochelle came by and saw something in her face. "You did something." "I didn't pull the trigger," Denise said. "That's what they always say, right?" A week later, a video appeared on the dark web. A man, bound, bruised, and blindfolded, was speaking. It was Bensley. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I thought he had a gun. They told us to." The video cut. Police tried to scrub it, but it spread too fast. Protests erupted. This time, they chanted Marcus Walker's name. And Denise, watching from the shadows, wasn't done yet. 3 days after the video dropped, every major outlet was buzzing. CNN, MSNBC, local news. All of them ran with the same line. "Disgraced Officer Bensley apologizes in leaked hostage video." But they missed something. Only one reporter caught it, Nia Grant, a freelance crime journalist known for sniffing out cover-ups. She slowed the video down and zoomed in on Bensley's neck. A small tattoo, a lion head, barely visible. Later that night, Nia received an unmarked envelope at her door. Inside was a USB drive. No name. No return address. She hesitated, then plugged it in. It was a second video. A different room. Same hostage. Bensley looked more tired now. This time he said something new. There were others. 5 of us. We cleaned up things for them. I wasn't supposed to talk. But that boy didn't do nothing. The screen cut to black. A message faded in. 1 down. 4 to go. Denise met Rochelle in the back of a hair salon that was barely standing. It was quiet. Smelled like smoke and cocoa butter. There were 3 other women sitting inside. 2 of them older. 1 young, barely 20. All with stories. Police brutality. Disappeared brothers. Broken mothers. You're not the only one woman said. We just ain't had a leader before. Denise didn't want to be a leader. She just wanted her son back. But something bigger had started. The women called it the straw movement. Because everyone has a breaking point, Lorraine showed up one night with a box. Old papers. Newspaper clippings. Polaroid pictures. This belonged to your father, she said. Denise frowned. Daddy was a pastor. He was also a community organizer in the 80s. He knew what they were doing back then too. We just didn't have phones to record it. Denise sifted through the papers. Names. Dates. Badge numbers. One caught her eye, Sergeant Clyde Henson, still active and on the list of 5. Her heart dropped. This isn't just about Marcus, she whispered. Lorraine nodded. It never was. Detective Harris was watching everything. He tapped into street cams. Checked the missing persons report updates. He knew the signs. He walked into the police chief's office one afternoon and dropped a file on the desk. They're not scared anymore, Harris said. The chief flipped through the folder. Photo after photo, Denise at protests, anonymous posts, strange disappearances. This woman is building a war, he muttered. No, Harris corrected him. She's already fighting it. You just don't see the weapons. Sergeant Henson vanished next. This time, no video. Just a recording. His voice shaking. I planted evidence. I did. I did it to make the arrest stick. I didn't think it'd get him killed. I didn't think. End of tape. But what shook the public more was where it was found. Blasting from the speakers outside the police precinct. The city erupted. Rage poured into the streets. And somewhere in the crowd, Denise stood still. Watching. That night, Rochelle couldn't sleep. She had joined Denise out of pain, out of loyalty. But now, she was starting to wonder. Where was the line? She followed Denise once, to an abandoned building near 14th and Gray. She peeked through a cracked window. Inside were photos on walls, red thread connecting names, files stacked on crates, and a chair in the center of the room. Empty. For now, Denise's younger brother, Terrence, came back from Atlanta after hearing the news. He saw her and broke into tears. You're scaring me, Dee. You weren't here, she said, arms crossed. That ain't your excuse to become them. She walked past him, but he grabbed her arm. Do you even know who you are anymore? Denise looked him straight in the eye. I know exactly who I am. And that scared him even more. 2 officers on the list were found burned inside an abandoned warehouse. No video this time. Just a single word painted on the floor in ashes. Justified. The city spiraled into chaos. National Guard was deployed. Curfews set. But the movement only grew stronger. Online forums lit up. Hashtags. People started sharing their stories. Mothers, sisters, friends of the fallen. Denise's face became a symbol. And a warning. Detective Harris found something strange one night in his car. A package. Wrapped neatly. Inside, an old-fashioned tape recorder. He pressed play. This is for your son. For everything they did. For every door that closed on you. We see you. We remember. No name. No threats. Just solidarity. He sat there in the dark, holding the recorder with trembling hands. Denise stared at the last 2 names on the list. Detective Mark Crowley and Deputy Chief Elaine Voss. Crowley was the one who wrote the official report about Marcus' death. He was also the one who misplaced the body cam footage. She was worse. She signed off the entire investigation, closed it, told the media no foul play. Rochelle entered the room with a bottle of water and sat down slowly. "You're really going after her?" Rochelle asked, eyes fixed on the board. Denise didn't answer. She just picked up a black marker and wrote 2 words under Voss's name. Final straw. Crowley knew he was next. He had already moved his wife and kids out of town, set up security, stopped taking public routes. But the fear was eating him alive. Every knock on the door made his skin crawl. Every shadow on the wall looked like a ghost from the past. Then one night, thing, bang, bang. His front door flew open. But it wasn't Denise. It was the department. SWAT raided his apartment after an anonymous tip claimed he had evidence of corruption. Guns drawn. Screams. Flashlights in his face. And on the living room wall, someone had spray-painted 3 words. "You are next." Rochelle stood on the roof of the old church, phone shaking in her hand. She had just uploaded something to the internet. A 17-minute audio clip. It was the full, unedited internal affairs interview from 2 years ago, the one where Crowley admitted on tape that Marcus was innocent. He said the quiet part out loud. He didn't match the description, but we needed someone. There was pressure from above. I mean, he ran, and that was enough. Within hours, it went viral. Hashtags exploded across social media. Hashtag Marcus did nothing. Hashtag straw truth. Hashtag the system knew. News stations couldn't ignore it anymore. Talk shows, podcasts, even government officials began weighing in. Crowley went into hiding. And Denise? She didn't blink. Because now, the world finally heard what she had been screaming in silence. Detective Harris sat in the parking lot of the precinct, staring at the sunrise. Sleep hadn't come in days. His phone buzzed. A text. "Unknown number, you still have a choice." He glanced around. No one. Then another message. "Don't be the last straw." Harris swallowed hard. He knew what it meant. He wasn't on the original list, but maybe he was being watched now too. He deleted the text, started the engine, and drove. But in the rearview mirror, a black car followed. Voss stood in front of a packed press room. Cameras everywhere. She cleared her throat and read a statement. "I've served this city for over 28 years. I understand that mistakes were made, and I take full responsibility for the department's shortcomings." Denise watched the live broadcast on her cracked phone screen. Lorraine sat beside her, arms crossed. "She's trying to save face," Lorraine muttered. But Denise leaned in closer. She wasn't listening to the words. She was watching Voss's hands, shaking. Watching her eyes, dodging the cameras. Watching her fear, spilling out through practiced calm. "She's next," Denise whispered. Inside the straw movement, not everyone agreed. Some wanted justice. Others wanted blood. Rochelle sat with a group of younger members arguing heatedly. One of them, Keyshawn, raised his voice. "She's playing games. Talking won't fix this. We need to take her, just like the others." Rochelle slammed her hand on the table. "No, that's not what this is. She let Marcus die." Keyshawn barked. "I know." Rochelle snapped. "But this started as a cry for truth, not revenge." There was silence, but lines were being drawn. And Denise, she hadn't said which side she stood on. One night, Denise found herself in Marcus's old room. The bed still made. School trophies still on the shelves. She slid open a drawer and found a dusty camcorder. Old school. Still worked. She pressed play. There he was, Marcus, age 11, dancing in the living room, laughing, waving at the camera. "Mama, look, I made the team." Her hand covered her mouth. She watched him on that screen, full of life. Then she rewound the tape and watched it again. And again. And again. Until sunrise, Deputy Chief Voss received a black envelope at her home. No return address. Inside, a phone. It buzzed once as soon as she touched it. A video began to play. It was a drone shot of her walking out of her office, then getting in her car, then parking in front of her house. Someone had been following her. The video ended with a message. Come to the tunnel under 9th and Lexington. Alone. Midnight. Her hands trembled. Her security detail banged on the door when she screamed, but it was too late. She was already walking toward her fate. The air was damp. Streetlights flickered. Rats scattered across broken pavement. Voss stood under the bridge at 9th and Lexington. Alone. Then she heard footsteps. Denise stepped from the shadows, calm. But up. Face hard. Voss opened her mouth. Please. I didn't. You signed the report, Denise interrupted. You cleared them. I didn't have a choice. Denise pulled out a recorder. Say that again. This time, for everyone to hear. And Voss started talking. Everything to Voss's voice shook as she confessed everything under the bridge. They told me to close it. The mayor's office, internal affairs, they all wanted it buried. Denise didn't flinch. She let the recorder run, her eyes locked on the woman who helped destroy her life. I didn't kill Marcus, Voss whispered. But I helped hide who did. Denise stepped closer. Then say the names. Voss hesitated. Then she did. One by one. Crowley. Dawson. Captain Len Murrow. Even a judge, Judge Halvorson, the one who denied Denise's wrongful death petition. When she finished, Denise clicked off the recorder. This is your only chance to live, she said coldly. Disappear. Voss dropped her head, ashamed, and walked into the darkness, her footsteps echoing like a retreating ghost. 2 days later, the video hit the internet. The full tunnel confession. No edits. No filters. Just Voss spilling decades of rot in the police department and city government. Cable news froze. Politicians panicked. Crowley went radio silent. Within hours, the mayor issued a statement. We are launching a full federal investigation into the City of Detroit Police Department. The streets were flooded with protesters, this time not just demanding justice, but celebrating the first crack in the system. People were calling it the straw effect. But behind the scenes, Denise was already planning her next move. Not everyone saw Denise as a hero. Her own sister, Monica, called her late that night. What you're doing, it's dangerous. These people have families. So did Marcus, Denise replied. You're not the same person anymore. Denise paused. Good. She hung up. She wasn't trying to be the same. She wasn't trying to go back to who she was. That Denise died the night her son did. Now she was someone else. A mother with nothing left to lose. And a city with everything to gain. That night, Denise stood on the Belle Isle Bridge. The wind whipped hard, and the river below moved like liquid steel. She pulled out her phone, the old one, the one Marcus used to borrow. She looked at the photo on the cracked screen, Marcus smiling, arm around her neck, cheeks full of cake. She whispered, I hope you're watching. Then, slowly, she dropped the phone into the river. Let it sink. Let the old life go. Because ahead, there was more to burn. More names. More masks to tear off. Judge Halvorson walked into his courtroom the next morning, briefcase tight in hand, eyes darting nervously. The room was filled with murmurs. Journalists. Protesters. Even lawyers looked uneasy. A single envelope waited on his bench. He opened it and froze. Inside were copies of sealed documents, ones he thought were destroyed years ago. Records showing he'd received donations from a private prison contractor, just days before sentencing dozens of black teens to extended juvenile detention, including Marcus's best friend, CJ. There was no signature. Just a sticky note inside with 3 typed words. I never forget. He looked up and saw a woman in the back row, hood pulled low. She stood and left before he could speak. Meanwhile, inside the Straw Movement's warehouse HQ, the divide deepened. Rochelle addressed the group. We're not killers. We're truth-tellers. Denise started this to expose them, not destroy them. Keyshawn snapped back. Tell that to Voss. You think she walked away because of a speech? She knew we could end her. Another voice joined in, the hacker who leaked the tapes. The public's watching. One wrong move, and they'll turn on us like they always do. Then silence fell. Because in the corner, Denise entered. Let them turn, she said. But we won't stop. Not until the last lie is gone. Meanwhile, inside the Straw Movement's warehouse HQ, the divide deepened. Rochelle addressed the group. We're not killers. We're truth-tellers. Denise started this to expose them, not destroy them. Keyshawn snapped back. Tell that to Voss. You think she walked away because of a speech? She knew we could end her. Another voice joined in, the hacker who leaked the tapes. The public's watching. One wrong move, and they'll turn on us like they always do. Then silence fell. Because in the corner, Denise entered. Let them turn, she said. But we won't stop. Not until the last lie is gone. Rochelle followed Denise to her apartment after the meeting. Where are we going with this? She asked, her voice softer now. You've already done more than most people dream. Denise didn't answer. She moved the couch aside and pulled open a hidden floorboard. A small metal safe. Inside, a flash drive, old photos, a thick file labeled DCPD internal, unreleased, and a USB labeled Murrow backup copy. Rochelle gasped. Is that the original footage? Denise nodded. Crowley wasn't the only one who kept receipts. Rochelle whispered, This could take the whole department down. Denise looked her in the eye. That's the plan. The Straw Movement posted a message on all platforms. 10 days, 10 truths, 10 names, one final reckoning. It's time. The city held its breath. Police tightened security. Officials went underground. And the people? They waited. Shared the countdown like it was prophecy. Because everyone knew, when a mother breaks, the world listens. That night, Denise barely slept. Her phone buzzed nonstop. Messages from supporters, warnings from enemies, and cryptic threats. She moved quietly through her apartment, packing a small bag. Rochelle arrived just as she zipped it closed. Where are you going? Rochelle asked, voice low. Denise didn't answer. Instead, she pulled out a burner phone and dialed. A voice answered on the other end. Are you ready for the truth? In a dimly lit basement beneath a closed-down church, Denise met with an unexpected ally, Marcus's childhood friend, CJ. CJ's hands trembled as he handed her a thick envelope. Inside were handwritten confessions from a former officer who had witnessed everything, bribes, threats, even the moment Marcus was set up. I've been scared for too long, CJ said. But Marcus, he deserves justice. Denise nodded. This is the last piece. The next morning, the Straw Movement released the new evidence. The city exploded. News outlets scrambled to cover the story. Protests grew louder, swelling into thousands. And somewhere, deep in the shadows, powerful men watched, their empire crumbling. But not everyone was loyal. One of Denise's closest allies secretly met with Murrow's men, feeding them information. Denise's phone was hacked. Her plans were compromised. Now, the final countdown wasn't just against corrupt cops. It was against betrayal from within. Denise stood before a crowd of supporters, her voice steady but fierce. We're closer than ever. But the fight isn't over. She looked into the crowd, seeing faces of hope and fear. This city will change. Because we won't stop. Because we cannot stop. Behind her, cameras rolled. And the world watched as Denise's phone buzzed with a single message. Meet me at the old warehouse on 14th, alone. Now. Her heart pounded, but she didn't hesitate. She grabbed her jacket and slipped into the night. The warehouse was dark, empty, except for a single figure waiting by a flickering lamp. As she stepped closer, the figure spoke. Denise, it's not too late to walk away. Her eyes narrowed. Who sent you? The figure sighed. Not who sent me, who I am. The figure pulled back their hood. It was Detective Harris. I've been watching, he said quietly. And I want to help. Denise's breath caught. Why now? He looked away. Because I can't live with what I helped cover up. Together, they mapped out the next moves. Harris had access to internal communications, emails, calls, secret meetings. Denise had the people, the movement, and the truth. We'll expose them all, she said, eyes fierce. Harris nodded. But it's going to get worse before it gets better. The countdown clock hit 0. The straw movement released the final bombshell, damning video evidence of Crowley and Murrow planning Marcus's fate. The city erupted. News anchors spoke in hushed tones. City Hall went into lockdown, but with the spotlight came danger. Denise's apartment was raided. She barely escaped, thanks to Harris's warning. Now a fugitive, she disappeared into the city's maze, hunted but unbroken. The next day, thousands gathered in front of City Hall. Voices raised in unison. Justice for Marcus. End the corruption. Straw movement forever. Denise watched from a distance, tears in her eyes. Her fight had become their fight. Denise slipped into an underground safe house, a dimly lit basement where members of the straw movement gathered in hushed voices. Harris was already there, hunched over a laptop, eyes scanning through newly uncovered files. "We found something," Harris said, handing Denise a tablet. On the screen was a list of offshore accounts linked to Crowley, Murrow, and others, millions of dollars funneled through layers of shell companies. Denise stared at the numbers, then looked up with a grim smile. This is the nail in their coffin. But the movement wasn't the only one working in the shadows. Crowley's men had set a trap, baited with false intel about Denise's location. Rochelle, loyal but reckless, fell right into it. Gunshots shattered the night. Screams echoed through the empty streets. Denise received the emergency call and raced through the city, heart pounding. She found Rochelle bleeding but alive, surrounded by angry crowds and police. With Harris's help, they fought their way out. Denise cradled Rochelle in her arms. "We can't lose anyone else," she whispered. The straw movement hijacked a local news channel's broadcast signal. Denise's face appeared on every screen in the city. Her voice was strong, unwavering. "This city is built on lies. But we are the truth. We will not stop until justice is served. For Marcus. For every forgotten voice. For all of us." The federal investigation began to move rapidly. Crowley, Murrow, and others were arrested one by one. The city breathed a collective sigh of relief. But Denise knew the fight wasn't over. Corruption ran deep. She looked to the horizon. This is just the beginning. As Murrow sat behind bars, his lawyers scrambled to negotiate a plea deal, names for freedom. But Denise was one step ahead. She leaked part of the wiretap tapes to the public before Murrow could use them as leverage. The people had already heard the truth. There was no deal left to make. "Let him rot," she said, staring at the headline. Murrow charged with federal conspiracy, stripped of badge, Rochelle healed slowly, both in body and spirit. Since the ambush, she hadn't spoken much. One night, sitting across from Denise in the safe house, she finally broke the silence. "You think it's over?" Denise shook her head. "It's never over. But now, they know we're not afraid." Rochelle managed a weak smile. "Then let's finish it. All of it." The straw movement dropped a final bomb, surveillance footage of the mayor attending secret meetings with private prison executives. It went viral in minutes. The mayor denied everything until the photos surfaced. Envelopes exchanged, signatures captured. By evening, she resigned on live TV, her voice cracking under pressure. Late one night, Denise received a package. No name. No return address. Inside was a single USB and a note that read, "You're not done yet." The footage on the USB showed a younger Marcus, handcuffed, surrounded by officers. But what stood out wasn't Marcus. It was one of the officers, a face Denise hadn't seen in any reports. She paused the video, heart thumping. "Who are you?" she whispered. Harris confirmed it. The man in the video was Officer Brent Lyle, a cop who vanished just weeks after Marcus died. No resignation. No transfer. No official record. Just gone. "If we find Lyle," Harris said, "we find the real story." "Then we dig," Denise replied. Their search led them outside Detroit. Abandoned towns, retired cops, dead ends. Until an old janitor from Precinct 9 handed them a clue. Lyle was paid to disappear. They called it a clean extraction. Said he knew too much. "Who pulled the strings?" Denise asked. The man pointed to a symbol carved into a matchbox. "A phoenix. Whatever it is, it's bigger than the department." a private military security firm, tied to law enforcement, used for off-the-books operations. Their name? Phoenix Corps. And they had contracts with over 40 cities, including Detroit. Denise looked at the files Harris brought in, her breath catching. This isn't just about Marcus anymore. She looked up. It's about the whole damn system. Phoenix Corps' name didn't appear in city records, at least, not directly. But tucked inside old budget audits, Denise found coded contracts, public safety enhancement funds, private tactical oversight. She laid the documents across a table. Rochelle stared in disbelief. Harris just shook his head. They've been hiding in plain sight, Denise whispered. And no one questioned it? Harris replied, because the money kept flowing. Schools closed. Clinics shut down. But they stayed funded. A woman named Carla reached out through an encrypted straw channel. I used to work for Phoenix Corps, she said in a trembling voice. I was a data analyst, and I kept copies. All of them. They met in a small diner outside Toledo. Carla slid a hard drive across the table. But once you open this, she warned, they'll come for you. Denise nodded. Let them. The hard drive held internal emails, black site surveillance logs, video archives of illegal raids, and a final file labeled Lyle/Marcus/authorization, Black Rose. They opened it. Marcus had been flagged months before his arrest by Phoenix Corps. A note read, Subject connected to internal whistleblower. Remove threat. He wasn't just a victim of a corrupt police system. He was targeted by an entire covert machine. Denise, Rochelle, Harris, and Carla prepped a full broadcast. They would live stream everything. Not to the news. Not to the police. To the people. This is the story they buried. Marcus was not random. He was a target. And Phoenix Corps is still active. In your cities, your schools, your neighborhoods. The feed cut across TV, social media, phones. It spread like fire. Hours later, the safe house went dark. Power cut. Wi-Fi jammed. Outside, black vans. No plates. Harris peeked through the blinds. Phoenix Corps. They found us. Denise grabbed the drive and turned to Carla. Is there another copy? Carla nodded. Already uploaded to 10 dead drops. Even if we go down, it won't. Denise smiled. Then let's hold the line. The van doors burst open. Men in tactical black stormed the building. Silent, precise, trained. Denise, Rochelle, Harris, and Carla retreated into the basement tunnel Rochelle had insisted on building weeks before. I told y'all, Rochelle whispered as they moved, always expect the wolves. Above them, footsteps thundered. But by the time the intruders reached the basement, it was empty. The tunnel led to a hidden exit 3 blocks away. They emerged into the cold night, breathless. They split into pairs. Denise and Carla headed north. Rochelle and Harris, east. They wore new clothes, fresh IDs, different hair. Carla even had facial prosthetics ready, a trick from her Phoenix days. They'll be scanning for heat, gait patterns, voice prints, she warned. Let them try, Denise said, zipping up her hoodie. Across the country, cities were erupting. Protesters filled streets in Chicago, Oakland, Baltimore, New Orleans. Everyone had seen the straw broadcast. Marcus's face, his story, the cover-up. Graffiti sprayed on courthouse walls read, Justice for Marcus. Disband Phoenix Corps. We are straw. The government was forced to respond. Hearings were announced. Senators demanded answers. And still, no one could locate Denise. A cyber attack hit Phoenix Corps' main server farm in Virginia. 20% of their files were wiped. The rest were leaked. Internal memos exposed illegal surveillance of schools, targeting of activists, and secret payouts to local governments. Carla whispered, reading through one log. This was never about public safety. It was control. Deep in northern Michigan, Carla led Denise to a hunting cabin. There, huddled by a fireplace, was a gaunt man with hollow eyes. Brent Lyle, Carla said quietly. The one who disappeared. Lyle stared at Denise. You're the sister. No, she replied. I'm the reckoning. Lyle hadn't spoken to anyone in years. But with Carla there, he finally opened up. He told the whole story. Phoenix Corps' test program. Targeting unstable environments. The psychological manipulation. The orders to Mark Marcus. And his own guilt, refusing to plant drugs that day. That's why they erased him. I didn't kill your brother, Lyle said. But I didn't save him either. Denise nodded slowly. Then you'll help us take it all down. In a dusty backpack, Lyle handed over his final card. A weathered notebook filled with names, dates, code words. Every operation he was part of. They never wiped me clean, he said. They just thought I'd stay scared. The notebook contained code names of high-ranking officials, Phoenix Corps regional heads, and something that made Denise's hands shake, a plan labeled Straw Protocol, Controlled Uprising Simulation. They knew, Rochelle whispered as she flipped through the pages. They used your brother's death to test public reaction. Rochelle's contact in the digital resistance, a coder named KO, decrypted Straw Protocol's final page. It described multiple test cities, coordinated media silence, and agent provocateurs placed among protesters. They didn't just want control, KO said on a scrambled call. They wanted to profit from the chaos they caused. And worst of all, Detroit wasn't the first test. It was the third. From Lyle's ledger and Carla's files, they compiled a master list, names of officials, officers, and executives who had signed off on Phoenix Corps' secret operations. Some were dead. Some retired. But many were still in power. We leak this slowly, Denise said. One name a week. Let the people chew on it. Let the system eat itself. Harris nodded. No more hiding. We flood the truth. By mid-July 2025, city governments were at war with themselves. Councils turned on mayors. Judges resigned in droves. 2 Phoenix Corps facilities were burned down by unknown arsonists. An anonymous manifesto was posted online that read, "We are straw. We are what you ignored. You built your empire on our grief. Now you will grieve us." Phoenix Corps struck back. Rochelle was nearly assassinated in a drive-by outside a safe house in Newark. She survived, barely. The team realized they had crossed a line. There would be no going back. But instead of hiding, Rochelle called for a press conference from her hospital bed. She streamed it live. They tried to kill me, just like they killed Marcus. But we're still here. We are the straw that broke the system. The broadcast trended worldwide. #We're so deep in the files was a trail of bank transfers, not to Phoenix Corps, but from them. Offshore accounts. Shell companies. One name popped up again and again. Darian Holt. A wealthy defense contractor. Private prisons. Security lobbyist. He was never in front of cameras, but his money was everywhere. He funded the first Straw Protocol, Carla whispered. He called it urban optimization. Denise clenched her fists. Then he's next. Darian Holt's estate in Virginia was a fortress. Cameras, guards, drones. But Carla had old Phoenix Corps blueprints. Using an old utility tunnel, Harris and Denise got inside. Rochelle monitored from a van nearby. They slipped through a wine cellar, past an art gallery, into Holt's private study. He was waiting. "You made it farther than most," he said calmly, sipping whiskey. "You killed my brother," Denise said, leveling her voice. "For a spreadsheet." "I didn't kill him," Holt replied. "I selected him." While Holt monologued about control, security, and the chaos economy, Rochelle recorded the entire thing remotely. "You think pain builds a better world," Denise said. "But it only builds graves." Holt laughed. "Then let's build a bigger one." As guards stormed in, Denise triggered the flash drive in her pocket, a timed file dumped straight to every major news outlet. The world would hear everything Holt said from his mouth. Within 24 hours, the government froze Holt's assets. His name filled every headline. Politicians scrambled to distance themselves. Protests reignited, not just for Marcus, but for every name written in Lyle's notebook. Straw was no longer just a code name. It was a movement. "We started as whispers," Rochelle said in a rooftop interview. "But now we are thunder." Facing global scrutiny, an emergency tribunal was held, but behind closed doors. Secret. Controlled. Carla hacked in. They watched from a hotel room as Holt was questioned. Do you admit to authorizing straw protocol? Silence. Then Holt smiled. You act like I'm the only one. And behind him, a wall of faces. Men and women. CEOs. Governors. Judges. Straw was only the tip. The more names they uncovered, the clearer it became. This wasn't just Phoenix Core. It was a network. Each person exposed led to 3 more in the shadows. Pharmaceutical execs who profited from city mental health contracts. Tech giants who licensed surveillance tools. Education boards paid to adopt biased predictive software. We cut off the head, Harris said, and 3 more grow back. Then we stop trying to cut, Denise replied. We infect the whole body. While politicians scrambled and media spun narratives, Denise launched the Straw Underground, a secret network of student organizers, whistleblowers, coders, and artists. We don't just want revenge, she told a room of teens in hoodies and backpacks. We want rebirth. They built local councils, free tech workshops, underground media channels, a decentralized army of storytellers and digital warriors. Straw was no longer just a cry for justice. It became a way of life. Phoenix Core, bleeding money and abandoned by its partners, attempted a final act of aggression. They announced a counter-radicalization campaign, backed by a new AI system called Veil. But KO and Carla found a backdoor. On live television, during Veil's launch, the system was hijacked, and instead of propaganda, it played Marcus's original voice recording. His last words, unfiltered. If you're watching this, it means I didn't make it home. The world wept. And Phoenix Core collapsed within days. Denise stood at Marcus's grave. There were no reporters. No chance. No cameras. Just her, Rochelle, Harris, Carla, and the wind. You were never the spark, she whispered. You were the fire. And we just lit the rest of the sky. She left behind her last Phoenix Core badge, burned, melted, unrecognizable. A final offering to a brother who died before his story could be told. Months passed. The streets were calmer, but not silent. The scars of what happened still lingered on murals, in courtrooms, in empty chairs at dinner tables. But something had shifted. Change no longer felt impossible. Rochelle returned to her classroom, now a community hub, where kids asked hard questions and expected real answers. Harris took a job helping rebuild neighborhoods affected by the Phoenix Core operations. Carla launched a whistleblower protection foundation. And KO disappeared. His last message read, if you need me again, just whistle in code. Denise stood before a new memorial in the heart of Detroit. It wasn't flashy. Just names etched in steel. Marcus's was first. Then hundreds of others, victims of systems that fed on silence. A little girl beside her tugged her sleeve. Are you the lady from the video? Denise smiled softly. One of them. My mommy says you made the world better. Denise didn't know what to say. So she kneeled and handed the girl a small button from her coat, the old Phoenix Core insignia, now crossed out with a red straw. Now it's your turn. The movement lived on, in barbershops, in classrooms, in lyrics and graffiti. No leader. No center, just truth. And fire. Because straw was never a person. It wasn't even a plan. It was a question. What happens when the last quiet soul finally breaks? And the world finally listens to the indie. Straw, 2025, a Tyler Perry film. Starring Taraji P. Henson. Streaming now on Netflix.